I shall start the meeting with a karakia. Tuia ki runga, tuia ki raro, tuia ki roto, tuia ki waho, tuia tātou te tangata, kei te kaupapa o te hui nei, ki te kaupapa o te rangi nei, muri ora kia tātou katoa. Bind above, bind below, bind within, bind beyond. Bind us, the people, to the purpose of our meeting, to the purpose of this day. Breathe life into all of us. So welcome on Zoom this morning. We have Councillor Walker, Councillor Butler, CEO Janine, and Community Board Member David Armstrong. And I'd like to welcome this morning as well our new Democracy Services Advisor, Kelsey McLean. Morning, Kelsey. I understand that you've joined us from Nelson City Council, so welcome to the TDC and hope you enjoy working here. Just because we are on Zoom, could I just remind everybody that the meeting's being recorded. You need to use your microphone if you wish to speak and indicate with your hand up. And I think that's probably all we need. So we'll move to apologies. We have apologies this morning from Councillor Maru, who's absent because he's doing other council business today, and we also have apologies from councillors Greening and Shellcrest. Do I have someone to move those apologies? Moved. Councillor Ellis, seconded. Councillor Kinmonth. I'll put that resolution. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. We have no one registered this morning to speak in the public forum. Do we have any declarations of interest for today's meeting, please? No declarations of interest, and we have no late items. We do have some minutes that we need to approve, which are of our meeting held on the 6th of July. Do I have someone prepared to move those minutes, please? Thank you, Councillor Ellis, and seconded Councillor Dakey. I'll put that resolution. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. And also would just like to welcome Jamie up here on my left wing, who's currently filling in for Mr. Kirby. So thank you, Jamie, and welcome to the top table. With that, we are going to move straight into Drew. So welcome, Drew. Good to see you here again. And you're going to take us through a bit of an update. I think we have your presentation here, and it will be good to catch you before you go to arrange a time for us to do a drive over. Thank you. So over to you.
Fantastic. Yes, so welcome. Well, welcome myself, I guess. Thank you for having me. Jamie, you're looking dapper in the tie. I like it. It's been 3 months since I was here last, so we're just going to cover the last 3 months of what the team's been up to, and then have a bit of a look forward at what our focuses will be. So we can go to the next slide, please. Yep, and then also we're going to talk about some of the stuff we do in collaboration, a wee bit about the national awards, Civil Contractors New Zealand National Awards, a wee bit on the results and how we measure them, and then a supply update, and then a bit on our whānau in the community. Next slide, please. So the quarter was once again dominated by weather events. It seems to be an ongoing occurrence. We seem to have at least one crew working on picking up slips after weather, sometimes 2, sometimes 3, sometimes more. So I think we cleared up 1,473 cubic metres of slip material in the 3 months. So it's not a massive single event. It's lots of little events dotted around the network, which is a little bit awkward for the teams. Next slide, please. Fairly fitting photo there, middle of winter. We had a bit of snow up on the top end of the network, up towards Nelson Lakes, which leads into, we've done a fair bit of gritting. We've actually gritted 543 kilometres of lane of road in the last 3 months. We've also cleaned up 76 trees that have fallen over in wind events in 3 months. So it's been a busy one for environmental. Next slide, please. Away from the environmental type works, we have been working as well. We've obviously got Greg, normally our mower operator on the left there. He copped a stone through his side window, so the mower was off the road for a day, so he was out with the patrol crew, digging holes, putting signs in. And then the heavy pavement crew there doing some dig outs up on Kuriri Top House Road with the lovely snow in the background. We've sprayed 1,785 kilometres of road in 3 months. That's spot spraying around our assets. That's just spraying to keep the network tidy. We've also cut 851 kilometres of vertical cut, so that's to maintain the roading envelope so vehicles don't strike branches and sight lines are maintained. We've mowed 1,609 kilometres of road, flat mow, so just the 1.5 mow in the rural area. And it's a pity Councillor Walker's not here, because I look forward to seeing her face when I say we've filled 535 potholes on the network as well. Winter time is sometimes mainly about drainage as well as emergency events, and the team's actually cleared 43 blocked culverts on the network, which sounds like a lot, but it's a small amount compared to what we've got. But it's good to see the team are prioritising it and getting through it. As well as other parts of drainage is getting the water off the sealed road. We've done 3.9 kilometres of flanking, which is where we cut the high lip off the road down into the ditch. Next slide, please. So I guess looking forward, the picture on the map is actually a heat map, which we can, if you're interested, flick me an email and we can send you the link to it. It's an interactive map where you can zoom in and look at the major treatments for this year. So this is the reseals that we're doing on the network. You can zoom in on each one, click it, it'll tell you the treatment type, the lengths, it gives you all the information, which is really cool. And then obviously on the right, we've got 3 major asphalt sites, all out Motueka way as well this year, which we'll be doing. And to get ready for all of these, the next 3 months work will be predominantly pre-reseal repairs, where we go and get the road up to a serviceable standard to be able to put that new layer over the top. So take out the big bumps, fix up the edges of the road, as well as do any heavy pavement maintenance we need to. Also, post-winter, we obviously have a more and more priority pavement repairs that we need to go and do, so the crews will be out fixing them up as well. We've got a big mill and fill program, predominantly around Richmond, which is in the asphalt area, so all the failed, cracked asphalt will be getting cut out and replaced. We'll be completing a program of flushing, where we water cut the flushing off, so that's where the binders come through to the top of the chip and it gets slippery on the chip seal. So you get high pressure water blasters in and they cut the top layer out, which renews the chip. And yeah, we're just carrying on with the winter maintenance across the network as needs must. And then, yeah, we've got a lot of our renewals programs. So we've got culvert renewals, obviously reseals as renewals, in area-wide pavement treatments, which are all in the planning stages in the next 3 months, getting ready for delivery over summer. Next slide, please. So collaboration, we get out and amongst in the community in terms of we do a minimum, well, last financial we did a minimum of 4 social media posts a month. This year has been ratcheted up to 6. So we talk about the programs that we're doing, the programs of work. We talk about the hot points for us on the network, whether it's illegal dumping. We notice a rise in illegal dumping. We'll do a post on it to highlight what it actually costs council. We talk about things like the vertical cut, so people know that it's coming, and if they want to cut back their native vegetation that's within that envelope, they can do it in a manner that suits them rather than the flail mower coming through. And there's good commentary and there's bad commentary, but we do get a lot of engagement, and it's really cool seeing how far those posts reach. Next slide, please. And a wee tool that we use in our teams as well is Telegram. It's just a messaging service. All of our people are on it, and it lets us talk to the whole team at once. But the really cool bit about Telegram is there's certain members of council. I think Jamie's in a few, Brian's in a few, Nikki's in a few, as well as the comms team. So they can pull out photos and use those photos for whatever they need to. They can see the issues that we've got on the network and the fixes at the same time. So it's a really, really cool tool. Next slide, please. We're pretty stoked with how we're sort of going in the Alliance at the moment, and we sort of thought we'd try and get some, I guess, some recognition for council as well as Downer and the Alliance partnership. So what we did, we entered the Alliance in the CCNZ National Awards in Category 6, which is for maintenance contracts. So I wrote a very lengthy submission, had to do a lot of deleting to upload it into the internet, and lots of nice photos sort of talking about what we do and, you know, relationships we've got and how we go about maintaining the network and being the custodians of the network. And then we had an interview. So we made the list for an interview. So we had the two judges come to the office. One flew in from Auckland and one lived in Nelson. And they interviewed us. We had an hour and we took an hour and a half of their time. Jamie was in the room. So we just talked their ears off about how great we were and, you know, what we're doing well. And as a result, we've actually made the finals. So middle of next month, Jamie and I are flying to Auckland to attend the finals, the final prize giving effectively. With a bit of luck, we walk away with the trophy, hopefully. Next slide, please. How we sort of measure how we're performing is in our KRAs or KPIs, however you want to talk about them. This is how we've sort of finished up the year. The numbers are good, and the numbers always start off less at the start of the year. Each year we ratchet these up. So we sit down in working groups and we actually look at the areas we want to target, where we want to be better, where we want the direction of the Alliance to go, and we make those changes. And for the last 2 years, we've had an upward trend as well in the KPIs, which shows that, you know, our focus on those areas are working, and the initiatives that we're putting in place are working as well, which is really cool. Next slide, please. Another quick one was we've changed how we do inspections. So rather than have inspectors on the network out playing in the traffic, you know, recording faults and whatnot, we now do most of our inspections by video. So we've got a GoPro that's calibrated to the vehicle and the EV in the top photo there, and it drives the network effectively both directions. And then someone comes back to the office and processes the faults. And it takes about a third of the time than a traditional inspection as well. So we can do 3 full inspections of the network in the same time it would take a team of inspectors to get around the same bit, as well as the cost is a third of that as well. So it's a really cool tool, and it's something that the team's really embraced, and then, yeah, the asset management team's really you know, striving to make those changes. Next slide, please. So last meeting I also presented on this, and I've had quite good feedback from yourselves, so I thought I'd bring it again. So part of the Alliance agreement is that we provide work to smaller supply partners as well, trying to keep the region's you know, economy and civil contracting going and buoyant and competitive. And last financial we spent a little bit over, so $5.082 million on supply partners. So this is people, not us buying products from them, this is them doing work for us and for the ratepayer, which is really cool. Next slide, please. So I inadvertently talked about this at the Motueka Community Board when I presented there last time. This is a Share the Road program that Downer undertook. Long story short, we got all of our heavy plant operators to attend this course, and we put them all on push bikes around the city streets of Richmond. And you can imagine a few of them are career drivers towards the end of their careers, and they weren't particularly happy about having to ride a bike. And then what we did was we got other truck drivers to buzz past them in their trucks, so that the guys that drive the trucks could actually see what it was like for a cyclist when you know, a truck came hurtling past them, which was a really cool program. And then obviously there's a fair bit of backwards and forwards and discussion on how it made them feel. But it's a really cool sort of learning activity, and it sort of got the guys out in the community as well, which is really cool. Next slide. And this is one you'll see on our plant getting around. So this is one of our Alliance 6-wheelers, and we've just rolled this new branding out on the back of the truck there, a nice multi-design, and a little bit about where you can apply for jobs. Obviously, in the constrained labour market, we're doing everything to attract people we can. So this is one of the latest ones that we've done, and it looks pretty cool. Next slide, please. Yeah, so that's my little presentation. If anybody's got any questions.
All right, we've got a few moments, so I'll open it up for questions. And also just to note that Mia King is on Zoom as well. Councillor Kinmonth.
Thank you. Thank you, Drew. I've got 3 questions. In one of the sites, on one of the slides, you had a link to the site for treatment.
Yes.
Could you send me that?
I sure can. Yes.
Facebook page. Could you also send me your Facebook page?
Oh, so we utilise the Tasman District Council.
Oh, do you? Right.
Yeah,
okay.
so we put all of our posts out through Tasman District Council.
Thank you. Thirdly, when you arrived today, you gave us a whole lot of numbers about how many kilometres of streets you've sprayed, how many. It'd be nice to know from me what percentage of the network that you're doing.
Oh,
so
sure.
Instead of just a number, if you're resealing 2% of the network, that would be more benefit to me. Thank you.
Absolutely, I can add that in for the next one, definitely.
And congratulations on your KRA quality of 97%.
Thank you.
All right, Councillor Walker.
Kia ora, thank you, Andrew. Yes, I am smiling, albeit from afar. First of all, I just want to acknowledge and thank you for the wonderful presentation. I'm presuming you can hear me.
Yes.
Oh, cool. And I love the fact that your service continues to morph and change and keeps up to date, and business as usual has never been business as usual for your team, that you embrace change. Thank you for doing that for our community. Thank you for collaborating so well with us. And yes, with the potholes, I always ask the same question, how many of them are refixes, and out of those refixes, are they in the scheduled plan to have other jobs done, like fixing the actual problem as opposed to putting the Band-Aid on? I'm always keen to hear where that work sits on your works order. And I too are keen to get the mapping of where your heat, what we talked about earlier about the heat spots on interactions of what happens at particular intersections. And good luck with your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will flick that email through to you as well.
All right, thank you. Deputy Mayor Bryant.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Drew, for the presentation. Unfortunately, I wasn't here last time you presented, so it was really good to see the format. And like Councillor Walker, yeah, it's really good to see you being innovative and appreciate the work you do. Certainly appreciate the work you do in my ward, particularly the work you've recently done on Fairhall Road. I think we've had pretty good feedback on that, and that was something that we sort of identified when we did the drive over, so that was really good. Just a few questions from me as to how much the chair will let me indulge. So where will I start? In Curhill Road and Stott Road were where we've done the work, and then you did some remediation after we looked at it. Is that how you think it? Is that now complete, or is that yet to have further work?
So the site that we looked at will have a texturizing seal put over the top, so the asphalt will be hidden.
Yeah, well, that will make some difference, because people have been concerned that it hasn't ended up a lot better than previous.
Yes,
Yeah.
in an ideal world, we would have just hidden it straight away. But with asphalted concrete, you need to give it time for the diluents to come out. Otherwise, this chip falls straight off the emulsion or the seal when you put it down. Yeah, so it's just give it 6 months and then we'll hide it.
Excellent, thank you. On those same roads, there's a number of sites where you've had temporary speed restrictions that are now seem like they're permanent. Is there any planned and work plan going forward to remediate those sites or?
Yes.
And because one of the issues where you put temporary signs up for that long is people just get to the stage where they don't take any notice. Unless they're like me, just go 50k above the speed limit so you don't lose your license if you get caught.
Yeah, so yes, the reason we put the signage up is because that's a P5 fault, which is the top of our fault list. And for a P5, we have to act within 48 hours to de-risk it or fix it. So by putting the speed restrictions up and the traffic management making the public aware that there's a fault there that's dangerous, that de-risks it. And yes, there's a lot of them out there, it feels like, but the team are working through them in an order at the moment. One of the photos in there was one of the sites on Karuri Top House that's had TM on it.
Yeah.
So yeah, the weather does play a big part of it as well. Obviously up there is harder to service in the middle of winter being alpine for heavy pavement work. But we've also just switched from chip sealing patches to asphalting patches. So we can perform more work in more of the season, if you will.
Right.
So yeah, the team is working through them currently.
And then you talked about the number of 43, I think it was, block culverts. Of course, that's a small percent. Do you have a work program to continue going around checking culverts, unblocking them rather than waiting till they're blocked?
Absolutely, we do. We perform drainage inspections annually where we cover a third of the network. So we cover, there's 4,500 culverts on the network that we maintain. So yeah, 1,300 of them get checked a year. And that's just a pure inspection. They'll dig out the front of it if they need to, as well as we have 2 patrolmen on the network full time, and part of their remit is to dig, manually culverts out. So we have that aspect, and then the ongoing drainage maintenance, which is the heavy pavement crew, the heavy drainage crew going around with the rat and the water blaster. We have a targeted budget for that, yes. So that is an ongoing activity.
Excellent. Now getting down to more Pacific, you may recall on Tadmore Valley Road, we looked at one particular culvert and we were going to get that fixed. I see there's still cones sitting in it. I just wonder how long is that one going to take, and if you're aware, or has that been missed, or
I'll have
it just
to follow up.
frustrates me when I see it.
Sure. No, with all the work, it all gets put into our programming prioritization matrix. So it's probably just a case of, when its turn comes up, it'll be coming up. So I'll find out and I'll come back to you on that.
Right. And then, if I may, I'm talking about a couple more. Just you talked about the Facebook and the antenna. I'd have to say, I've never seen anything on my Facebook TDC or antenna around roading. So
Right.
Is it restricted or?
No, it's published on the public TDC public
Okay,
Facebook
sure.
one. Yep.
Yeah, so I might talk to the comms people about that, and same on the antenna. I've never seen anything. I've seen the odd road closure, but nothing around general stuff.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep. No, there's 4 a month definitely that go out.
really?
Mm.
Yeah, okay.
That's how Facebook works. Carry on.
It's those algorithms.
Oh, the chair just gave me a bit of advice about how Facebook works. I was thinking that way. One of my granddaughters might have to do that as well, give me some advice. And I think that's all. For now, yeah.
All right, thank you. Councillor Dowler.
Yeah, Drew, thank you for the opportunity to go for a drive around with you every now and again. And I almost must compliment you on the work that you have done that we've pointed out when we've been on the drive around. It's been good. I had a chat with the truck driver just the other day. Actually, you showed a slide before of the pull-off area on Wildman Road that you reconstructed. And he's absolutely over the moon. He just said it just makes it so much safer for them to do what they do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ellis.
Hi, thank you, Chair. Hi, Drew. Thank you so much for your presentation. I just wanted to put in my thanks. I mean, your team works in really difficult conditions this time of the year, and they're out there every day doing their mahi. So I just want to show my appreciation for that. And we've seen some work done around Richmond of late that's really made quite some impact. So I just wanted to pass on my appreciation to you and your team out there in the field working at this time of the year. It's no fun. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And just one from me, Drew, but good luck for the award. Hope you pull that one off. I guess the thing that interests me with your data is the work that you're doing is obviously contributing to the council delivering on its service level agreements that it strives to in accordance with its long-term plan. I guess maybe a general comment from you. Do you think that where those service level agreements are set are actually increasing the quality of our network, or are we going backwards? Or if you'd like to deflect that one to Jamie, then you could.
I think there's two parts to that, and I'll defer to Jamie for one part. I think the two parts are the level of service, and then there's the budget constraints that allow us to deliver to that level of service. I think that the level of services are set at a point that maintain the network very well. And I think by default, in some areas, unsealed networks, for example, the way that the asset teams divvy up our funding for us lets us put more metal on those roads, which sees us grading less. And that's something we see. We see grading costs coming down. So I think the level of service does drive some parts of the quality of the network up. But then obviously everything comes back to funding. And with obviously the price of everything going through the roof, it does affect the amount of work we can do. And that's part of a bigger parcel that we've been working with Jamie on as well.
Yeah, and I'll follow up that with a key outcome that we've asked the Alliance to deliver is improving our asset management. So improving our understanding of our network, improving the data that we're collecting about it, improving the forecasting that we're able to do with that information to tell us what level of investment is required to meet certain future conditions of the network. And I think we've brought information to the committee previously, which shows, for example, an increase in the number of faults on our sealed pavements and an increase in the number of severe faults. And that sort of information is really valuable to tell us that, for example, we need to increase our sealed pavement maintenance or renewals activities to because over the time I've been involved in roads, I know that it's cheaper to maintain your roads in good condition than it is to try and maintain them in poor condition. And we know from the data we've got that our roads are trending to the poor condition, and we really need to deal with that. So the KPIs of the Alliance haven't been set around network condition. They've been set around what we know we need to focus on to do better for our community. So yeah, it's just a little bit of a distinction there.
All right, thank you. All right, well, thank you very much, Drew. It would appear that we have no further questions. So I really appreciate you coming in person and having the opportunity to ask questions. And yeah, we will discuss later on dates for drive-bys, but thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you for having me. And I do appreciate the chance to catch up with you guys. I do enjoy it. Thank you.
All right, we're going to move now to our Digital Innovation Program update. Welcome, Chris, and to the table, and Peter. Hello, Peter. How are you? You're just a ring in, and Chris is covering for Steve as well. Oh, right. Okay. Very good. All right, over to you. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, kia ora koutou. Yes, so apologies from Steve today. He's off unwell this week, so I've enlisted Pete to help me with any historical or technical questions. So I'm probably in, I think, week 13 or something like that. So still finding my way with some of the background of the dip. So I hope the report gives you a good update on where we're standing. Some things just to draw to your attention. We've introduced a red, amber and green traffic lighting system on the projects on item 3.1 there. So that aligns, I understand, with how capital projects team and infrastructure report their projects. So I hope that's familiar to you and gives you a good snapshot of where we are. We have a workshop planned with you on the 7th of September, I understand. We're bringing some slides to you there on our current position, future forecasting options and so on. And we're working on a revised business case. So we'll be able to go into much more detail about the future there. I noticed there's some changes to items under number 5. The first is around 5.1 with the total budget and forecast for this year. So the final numbers there have been confirmed with the finance team, and with our carry forward that we're requesting our budgets around 6 million on the nose, and the expected cost has gone up a wee bit to 4.7 with a couple of late items added by the team, which reduces our carry out to 1.3 expected this year. So those changes there. And also I potentially drawn to an error I'd made in the table on 5.2. The budget for year 1 and 2 doesn't add up correctly. I'd mistakenly used the budget for the 3 years, not for 2. So the correct number is about 8.5 million on there. So we had a budget of 8.5 for 2 years, and we've spent just shy of 5 million so far. And so I was hoping in that table to give you a flavour at a very top level of some of the things that we've done with that funding and what we've achieved so far. Pretty much fair to say that it's a lot of the behind the scenes stuff. And what's exciting about this year is we're really getting into the stuff that users will start to see, which is the more tangible outcomes for users to be able to report to you. And then so I might pause the wee questions there, but I was going to talk more about our risk management processes. If that's something you'd like to hear a bit more about.
All right, well, we'll hand it over for any questions first, Chris. Thank you. So open for questions. No, maybe just one for me. Actually, my computer just seems to have frozen. But I think it'll be good to have the workshop on the 7th of September, because a question in my mind around the requested carry forwards is actually whether that's the right method. I mean, you can keep carrying forward money because you've unspent it, but you know, I'm interested in understanding what that means in relation to what might already be in the budgets, and whether there needs to be some reprioritization or something. But I think we can explore that more in the 7th of September workshop. So, all right, I'll just, yes, Deputy Mayor Brian.
I hope you got them in the right area. Just around the digital innovation program, there's a bit of a colour-coded chart there. What I'm a little puzzled, what's an operating model? And there's I think 40K there for training and coaching. Not sure quite what that is.
Yeah, so through you, Chair, the operating model is how we operate essentially as an IT organisation within the wider council. So with the introduction of the new technologies, and it leads to a new way of working. So we've got to learn, you know, IT is one of those areas where you're constantly learning. It's just moving quicker. As you folks probably know as well, trying to keep up with it. So we internally also have to do that. But there's it also incorporates allowing staff to work more flexibly, you know, how we provision that. And so it's fair to say there's definitely been both a capability and capacity uplift within the IT team as part of the program. That was part of the original DIP. And so we've been working through that the last 3 years. And as Chris mentioned, that's been part of the wider planning as we head towards the procurement of the systems that are going to take us forward. So we've had to do that kind of learning first, and that's why the budget's probably a little bit behind where you'd expect it to be over the period of the 3 years.
So in effect, it's teaching in advance or training in advance for what's coming.
Yeah, that's right. And the next stage of the DIP as we move into the next LTP will be taking those learnings into the wider organisation as well, because as we start to work with and rely more on our digital systems and the digital processes, the digital experience for our customers, the business can't work in the way that it did maybe 20 years ago. You know, you're operating, you know, so it's all that kind of learning that comes with it. And if we didn't do that, if we just jumped straight out to market for a whole tranche of new systems, you're more likely to be failing and wasting your money. So yeah, we, you know, obviously very keen that we're getting it right.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Well, good. Thank you very much. All right. Well, it would appear that we have no further questions. So unless you had anything else that you wanted to add, Chris?
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted, we wanted to highlight on how we manage some of our risks, because that's something which came up before. So I can explain a wee bit more about that if that's something you have time to hear about. I had hoped to present our actual systems to you, but unfortunately, because the licenses are fairly restricted, I can't share it through the system. But there are some screenshots in the report there. So I may be telling you stuff you already know, because you probably understand all this already. But there is a corporate risk management system. So we have a matrix and a policy and a standard way of capturing those risks in a sheet. So we follow that, and we've installed it into SharePoint Online. So it's attached to our project site. So all of our project managers and staff can access it and load up a risk or an issue as we go. And what's really pleasing to see coming in new to a program is that it's really well used. Often they're done at the start of a project as what are the risks for our project, and they're kind of left a bit dusty for the rest of the project and not often looked at. But ours are regularly reviewed and added to and checked. And because it's live information, we can just go to it and filter it and search it. So that's really pleasing to see as someone was stepping in and seeing that there. So the program team ran through all of those. Took us 3 hours to go through all of the risks that we had captured over the 2 years and made sure that they're up to date and the actions were happening, and what we captured about the mitigations was actually happening. Because one of the other challenges of risk management is you can do your residual risk score based on your planned mitigation, but until you implement that mitigation, you can't claim that residual downgraded score. So it's making sure that we are being honest to it and making sure we are putting those things in place. The diagram I've got there on line 4.6, it might be a bit small to see, but this is using Power BI, which is a Microsoft application. And we're building something using that to draw the data from the SharePoint table, and we can represent it as graphs. And I hope that tells quite a good story, that we snapshot there. It'd be great if it's bigger, obviously. But what it shows you is how many risks we've captured in total over time and how many of them are open. So we've closed a very large number there, which I can't read myself, 80 something. And it shows you in the bar charts there the spread of them. And you can see that there's only 2 which are above high of residual risk rating. So I think that tells a good story to you, that we're managing those risks. And the risks that we are dealing with are generally in that sort of moderate impact space. So as we start to build these kinds of tools, we can sort of share these insights with you using that kind of data. So that's probably the main things I wanted to say, really, and take any questions around that risk management. I'll give an example there of how we managed a particular risk, and that was around the payroll, which we talked about last time I was here. And of course, something which is very much in people's minds is being paid correctly on payday when we go to a new system. And so Mike Pratt and I were very mindful of the potential of things not going well in the lead up to that. And we put a lot of structure in with the project team to make sure that we checked, double checked, tested, and had contingencies for what happens if the system falls over on changeover. And it all went well, which was great. And I hope you all got paid correctly last week. And if you didn't, then please let us know.
Thanks, Chris. No hands up from people to say they didn't get paid. No, I appreciate that. It's good to understand the robust approach you're taking with managing your risks, because, you know, we all know you can have all the fancy tools, but actually if you're not applying the intellectual rigor to thinking about it and taking it seriously, then nasty things can happen. So really appreciate that. We've got a question from Councillor Kinnan-Month.
A quick question, if that's right, Chris. I've just flicked you an email asking some questions, but I didn't cover it off properly in the email too. I'm sorry, but are you involved in whatever I've written down here regional climate change risk explorer tool.
I'm not personally, no. If you're able to.
That seems to be doing the same sort of thing, the risk assessment. So obviously, just someone within our council is looking at it, and are the two combined, or what's happening?
Oh, sorry, I missed what was the question? Sorry, councillor.
Are the two in a like? I said the two combined. Are they under our umbrella, or is one working separately from another? There's no linkages between.
Right. So the climate change tool risk assessment you're talking about is a joint piece of work with Nelson and ourselves. It was a piece of work that we commissioned to analyse climate change hazards. It's separate from the DIP project, but it's jointly funded between Nelson and Tasman, and it's really to understand climate change risk and hazards. Does that help?
It does, thank you. And Chris, ignore that email.
And that will be when that piece of work's been finished, it will be coming back to probably the strategy and policy committee for discussion.
All right, thank you very much. We have a resolution up on the screen,
I'm happy to move, Madam Chair.
which is moved by Deputy Mayor Bryant and seconded by Councillor Kinmonth. I'll put that resolution. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. So thank you very much, Chris and Peter. Appreciate your report and coming in today. Thank you. That then takes us to our libraries, customer services and community partnerships update report. So we have Glenys and Janet and Julia. Thank you very much. So we'll hand over to you, Glenys, but we'll take the libraries first, and then we'll move into customer services, and then we'll do the community partnerships. So, so the first section will be pages 10 to 22. Thank you very much.
Thank you and good morning. A long report from me this time than usual. I wanted to give you a good sense of what we've been working on and what we've achieved in the past 12 months. It has been a busy year for us, as I think you can see from what I put in the report. A particular highlight for us has been the way in which the community has embraced Te Nonina Kumu. A lot of activity happening there, a lot of community engagement with that new facility, and it's wonderful to see. Another positive is the positive impact of the removal of overdue charges. You know, that has contributed to an increase in library use. So the increases are due to a number of factors, but there's no question that has had a positive impact. Our metrics are showing positive movement, and it's really pleasing in particular to see that our issues have gone up again, and physical issues have gone up. You know, that the age of the book is not dead, and it's clear that people are still wanting to borrow in physical format. So that's really pleasing to see. You know, it is reversing a trend there. And we're receiving great feedback from our community, which tells us that they appreciate what we do and that we're doing the right things for them. And in all, I consider that has been a really successful year for us, and I really want to acknowledge the work of the library team. They're really committed to the work that they do, and without exception, they are really dedicated to serving their community. And it's because of their efforts that we have such a successful year. So I will take the report as read. Happy to answer any questions.
Right, Councillor Kinmonth.
Thank you so much for a positive report. It's so pleasing to see that our libraries are gaining in popularity and all the rest of it. I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear one thing. Did you say that the age of the people using the service are getting older, or they're getting younger? Well, I'm missing the point there.
Sorry, no, I don't think I said anything like that. I didn't comment on the age of anyone at all. More that we're having increased engagement with people. We are seeing increased borrowing. We're seeing increased visitor numbers again.
Isn't that great?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Deputy Mayor Brian.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thanks, Glenys, for the report and thanks for the work you and the team done. I've actually had a couple of times this year I've been able to go to the library and borrow a book. So that's, I'm not sure if we're getting less council reading or I'm just reading faster. But I'm just looking at your visitor numbers and I'm just wondering why Murchison and Tapua libraries are not included in the numbers.
Simply because we don't have technology there that helps us to do that.
Okay, are we likely to do that? You probably count them on.
Well, we haven't done. We have never had counting technology in Tapawera. We did have some technology in place in Murchison, but it proved to be very inaccurate. It's probably not worth the investment that
No,
that
that's
it
what I
would,
think,
it
'cause it
would
would be
take.
quite
Yeah.
low numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, and wouldn't, certainly wouldn't be anywhere near these other numbers because I'm assuming that these count individuals, do they?
They do. Yes,
Individual
they do.
visits, yeah,
Individual
which-
customers coming
yeah.
through the door. That's right.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Councillor Hill.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Thank you for your report. It's so interesting, isn't it? The idea that libraries will not die and books will all disappear, and what a nonsense. You know, at the local government New Zealand conference recently in Christchurch, I was at the Maruata Hui, which is a gathering of Māori elected members, and other people come along as well. And I was, sitting next to me was local government New Zealand's library person who travels around the country advising councils, you know, around libraries, and she was very impressed with the Motueka facility. So it's quite interesting having a yarn with her about what she sees and the whole business around libraries, you know, being hubs in community and add-ons to them. And I just had a sense, you know, when I read your reports, I appreciate the report and the level of detail, and it really paints a picture, and it's a bit like reading a bit of a novel, isn't it? You get a real sense of things, and from your report I get a real sense of what's happening, and you know, like a thriving, and there's a real sense of life in what you're presenting, and I think that's reflective of how alive these places are for people in our community. And for some, it's the hub, the centre, the heart of what they're doing when they go to town. I know that's the case in Tākaka, that some people go there a couple of times a day,
Yes.
and that's where they get their social contact and all sorts of other things. So it's pleasing, I think. I know I started off down some other little road there, I've forgotten it now, but that's spontaneity for you, which is the essence of life, isn't it? But yeah, I just appreciate the life in all of this. It's not some dusty old books and, you know, older people going off and pulling some dusty book out of a shelf that's, you know, and they're just all the same old books, you know, it's just so not like that. Fantastic. Yeah, and and it's pleasing for me, you know, we made the decision about let's scrap overdue fees, and I'd read about some other libraries around the country before that meeting, you know, about what was happening, and people just going to take the books home and keep them, and you know, all of that. So it was just very gratifying to see that it's been a really good decision to have made, and what we imagined might happen has happened. So well done, fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you, Glenys. I mean, there's a couple of things, you know, in the council that put a smile on your face. One's looking out the window and seeing the buses go past, and the other one's reading your library report. I mean, it is so good. Having dropped off 3 of my overdue library books already this morning. There's one thing I wonder about, because, you know, I am an active user of the library, but I actually don't know anything really about the library app. And so I'd maybe just encourage you to think about how you can communicate with your library users to actually up the use of that, because I'm reading that and thinking, oh, yeah, I think I could do that.
You can download it from the App Store.
Yeah, so, you know, maybe a Newsline article or something just to remind us about that. But it's a fantastic report. Thank you very much. it would appear, yeah, we have a question from councillor Walker.
Yeah, thank you through you, Madam Chair. Yeah, great report. Great to see how much activity and the extent of what we're doing to meet our wider communities. It's not just about people coming in to get a book anymore. So thank you for that. And I guess for me, for Motueka, we're getting more and more movement and activity based around, and the library has become a bit of a hub. And the Matariki Festival and the report that came, which may be further in our agenda, so maybe jumping the gun. Yeah, I guess for me, it's just concerns around, do we actually have a system in place which caps numbers on what's an actual safe number to have in the building? And how do we work around some of the bookings that we're going to continue to get, because we've, you know, it's a success story. People want to be there. There's lots of cool things going on, but I just have a concern around safety. Is that being looked into after the Matariki event? Thanks.
Yes, it certainly is. After that event, I did have a conversation with the Janine, the branch librarian. I do hope that situation's not going to happen like that again. We're putting strategies in place to manage situations like that. That was partly around the number of staff and helpers who were available, and the responsibilities that were kind of divided up for managing the crowd of people who came. I think that was quite a learning opportunity for the people running that kind of event. And as I say, we've put some strategies and some I guess parameters in place so that won't happen again.
That's, if I may, through the chair, that's really good. Thank you for that. The other thing that I'm mindful of is that the groundswell of numbers, which is pretty cool, wanting to now attend community board meetings, that room's getting pretty tight as well, and mindful that in the evening after 5, there's really only the one door that people can depart from. So has that been reviewed as well, of the capacity of what that meeting room can and can't hold?
No, it hasn't, but I think thank you, that's really useful feedback. I don't know what numbers you're talking about, but you're obviously experiencing some discomfort there about the room, use of the room. So look, we will look into that. There is of course another exit, but that is an emergency exit, but we might need to look at how that might be used in non-emergency situations, just to provide another point of egress.
Thanks. And just a point of clarification, it's not me that's uncomfortable. We had some feedback from last month's community board meeting. I don't know, personally I can't attend meetings at the minute, so hence I'm on Zoom. So I don't know what it was like on Tuesday night, but certainly the feedback from the month before's meeting was of concern. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councillor Walker. And so would appear we have no more questions, Glenys, with respect to libraries. So we'll move to the customer services section of the report. Councillors, that's pages 23 to 27. So hand over to you, Janet. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I don't think I have much to add to the report other than it's been another busy year. We're getting more compliments, but we're also getting a number of people who like to vent, shall we say, and we've had a lockdown in Motueka this week, so that was entertaining. Anyway, so welcome any questions.
All right, open for questions. Deputy Mayor Bryant.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thanks again, Jeanette, for the wonderful work you've done in that area and doing. It is frustrating to hear that the community or some sectors do seem to become more challenging and venting more often. So that's frustrating for people who are on frontline customer service type jobs. It really is a challenge. I just have a couple of questions if I can. Just firstly around the call centre activity, and at 4.2, we talk about the total number of calls and then go on to talk about customer satisfaction. Is that in relation to those calls and the response that they receive, whether that be directly or if it has to go to another party?
To you, Madam Chair. Yeah, it's it's relating to the calls and people coming into the counter, I think. So
Right.
any interaction.
So by and large, we're satisfying a higher number of people in the first engagement.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Well, that's really
yeah.
great though, because that's what we want. That saves taking up other staff members' times responding and stuff like that. So obviously there's some that are not banned, but there always will be. Second question relates to the AA, and you've got that further on in the report. And I have noticed for the times that I've been in the front area, there does seem to be an increase in queue lengths and wait times. Have we looked at expanding the number of operators, or that does seem to be peak times before and after school seem to be quite noticeable. And I guess that's something that you need to do in person, where a lot of the other things you can do web-based now or on the phone or other alternatives. So yeah, just wondered if there's any thoughts around that.
Yep. Through you, Madam Chair. Yes, we've had discussions with the national AA operator, and we've requested another terminal in Richmond and in Motueka, because both service centres are really busy with AA customers. Hopefully we'll get that. If not, I doubt we'll get it before Christmas, but it is in motion.
So likely to be in this current financial year.
We're hoping so, and we don't pay anything for that. That's provided by the AA.
But we obviously we'll put people through fast so we can collect more commission.
Yeah. So we've got the staff to cover it. It's just
so
we've got the computers to deal with
because I
it.
do notice that seems to be more people using that service than the
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Just in relation to that, do we have the physical room to be able to accommodate extra terminals?
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
All right. Wouldn't appear to be any more questions. So, so congratulations on customer satisfaction going up. That's really good to hear. And yeah, keep up the great work with the team that you're leading, Janet.
Thank you.
So we shall move to community partnerships. So with Yulia, this is pages 27 to 35 of your report, councillors.
Ata Maria. Just to add to my report, I wanted to say that we have a staff member coming back from maternity leave. So now she is going to share her role with someone who was replacing her on maternity leave. So we have 3 environmental educators now in our team, all part-time, but it's good because you will see more environmental education happening not only in school, but also in the community. Another thing that I wanted to add, I think you've read through the report, and there were a couple of changes to our recreation contracts. One of them being with Golden Bay recreation contract. Golden Bay Recreation Centre didn't have the capacity to deliver the contract this year, unfortunately, due to staff capacity. So we had to find another provider, and we had a current contract with the with the Work Centre Trust, and we just added into their contract the events, the Santa Parade, and some other events that previously were delivered by Recreation Centre. So this year, Work Centre Trust is going to deliver that, and then we'll review it and we'll see what the capacity of the Recreation Centre in the future, and we'll negotiate it with them for the next financial year. With the Motueka, we also have a little bit of change. With the new management at the recreation facility, we now have staff changes, and the Youth Council is not going to be delivered by Tegan Maru anymore. We really want to thank Tegan for all her hard work with the Youth Council. She's been a coordinator for quite a while, and she was a youth councillor herself, and she really took the Youth Council to the next level and made it work quite well. In the meantime, our staff will be managing the Motueka Youth Council until the Recreation Centre in Motueka is in the position to take this back on. when they have the right staff. We also don't really have at the moment anyone delivering Wakefield and Brightwater recreation contract because Katrina McLean, who was delivering it before, don't have the capacity to do it. So we're looking for a provider to deliver that. And finally, just wanted to mention as well about our youth pathway pilot that we're piloting in Motueka High School. This is a project between Nelson, Marlborough, us, and MOE. And it has been more than a year since we're piloting this project. It's to help the kids who are 16 and over, who are not the responsibility of the school anymore, to create some pathways for them to further develop their skills and not become a burden for the community. And we have a coordinator in the school, based in the school, but we are funding it together with MOE for the next year and a half. And the results has been really good. So we really see how those kids who are supported by this youth pathway coordinator getting better. They are getting they are supported, and especially the feedback from parents are amazing, that they feel that someone is supporting their children, and they're very grateful for that. Other than that, I'll take the report as read and take any questions.
Great, thank you, Yulia. So we've got firstly a question from Councillor Butler, and then we'll go to Councillor Walker. Thank you.
Thank you, Yulia, for a great report. It's always gratifying to see all the work that's going on. Just my question was really in relation to the welcoming community section. And I'd have to say that here in Golden Bay, I don't really have a picture of the migrants into Golden Bay and how people are settling in. And I'm just wondering whether or not the work that's going on with the new service coordinator and the other work for welcoming communities, whether or not this is actually extending over to Golden Bay at all. And I'm wondering whether or not there would be an opportunity for the coordinator to come to the Golden Bay Community Board and just talk about what's happening, and we could look at opportunities for our people who have recently moved into Golden Bay. I do see that there are quite a lot of school children who are from different ethnic groups, and I do just wonder about their parents, their families, and how long they've been here, and whether they need support and whether they're getting it. Thank you.
Through the chair, thank you very much for this question. Yes, definitely, this is a regional program, and we are working with the community in Golden Bay as well. So Beata, the coordinator of this program, she went and did the consultation in the Golden Bay as well as in other areas, and she collected all the data and all the feedback from people to just understand how much service or how much what is the need in Golden Bay around that. And she's actually working on a report right now, and she will be presenting the findings to you very soon. But she is in touch with the Mana Whenua ki Mohua as well. She went and she attended several meetings presenting the concept and the idea, and obviously this is a good idea about the community board. And I think, we'll encourage her to come and present to the community board the updates on the project.
Thanks. Great, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Councillor Walker.
Yeah, thank you, through you, Madam Chair. It's probably worth noting that the Welcoming Communities group, there has been a gathering of which I've attended, that your Deputy Chair, Grant Knowles, has been attending and is very much part of the mahi that's going on with that group of people. The second thing I wanted to acknowledge is the Murchison youth and their mural, and what a fantastic piece of work that the youth have put together over in Murchison. And often stuff happens in Murch and we are not mindful, or it's not brought to our attention. So I'm really hoping that goes in Newsline and that the youth over in Murch actually get acknowledged for the mahi that they're doing. They're a phenomenal group of young teenagers that are very engaged within their community. And the third thing I wanted to question is, Yulia, this is for you. Have TDC done anything to acknowledge the amazing job that Tegan actually did do in her role? Because she not only was the coordinator and making sure that for quite a period of time that the Motueka Youth Council functioned, but she also covered Waimea for a period of time until we got Ryan, on board. So has TDC done something to acknowledge Tegan's role? Thank you.
Thank you through the chair. So the first question around Murchison mural, yes, we are preparing a Newsline article, and yeah, the pictures and the story will be there. And around Tegan, yes, so Tegan at the moment is in Australia, but yeah, we are preparing you know, a little gift for her from the council and also from the youth council, from the Motueka Youth Council. So yeah, she will be acknowledged for her work.
Thank you very much. Just a comment and then a question from me. I think we should comment on Councillor Walker, who seems to feature a lot in this report in terms of the work that she's supporting. So well done, Councillor Walker. My question, Julie, is just around the paragraph 5.19, the provider that's needed to deliver the small Wakefield Brightwater recreation contract. I am aware that I might be right or wrong here, that it's been some time since that contract has actually been fulfilled. And I guess that I'm concerned that those communities might be missing out on something, and how you think that we can get it going.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So it's yeah, it is a tricky area because we have 1 year contracts, and so it just expired that financial year. So now in the new financial year, we need to find a new provider. But you're right, it hasn't been going on. So it hasn't. Yeah, not much stuff happened. We have only $6,000 for that contract. So to be honest, like, I don't really know whether we can find someone to deliver that contract for that amount of money. So we just don't really have a budget for this. And I contacted a couple of people, just kind of shoulder tapping, asking them whether maybe they know someone. But yeah, still in the process. And I'm happy to you know, if you have any recommendations, yeah, for this.
Yeah, I guess maybe, I mean, it might be something that you want to alert the Wakefield Community Council to, because just working through the chair of that committee, the community, those communities might have something that they would really like to see that actually the money could be utilised on. Deputy Mayor Bryant.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So Yulia, yes, just a couple of things again. Just in relation to the mural, seeing it in the reel on Monday, actually, it's really quite amazing when you see it. The pictures don't really do it justice, and it's hard. Even the one that's in the proposed Newsline, coming up the next Newsline to go out, just wonder if we could perhaps even get a better picture or a bigger picture just to show it. Because in the context of a wider environment, it looks really great. So just on its own, a little picture may not be ideal. So yeah, that's a good result for the community and those people travelling past. My other question relates to the Enviro schools and Natamoti school and tracking cats with a GPS. Wondered if you might be able to expand on just what the plan is there. I'm taking these are domestic cats and not feral cats, and just seeing where they go.
Yeah, correct. So this is just the trial, and so CJ from Golden Bay, she was able to secure some devices from I don't know, it's some company, yeah, a company, not local company, but yeah, so they're working with kids. It's like a social science experiment. Yeah, it's basically to show that you think that your cat is just a pet animal, but they actually go quite far and they hunt and they, you know, you may not know But so it's just basically around awareness. And yeah, because sometimes people think of their cats as different cats. But this project hopefully will show that how far they travel and yeah, will broaden the understanding about the behavior of their pets.
And they're looking for any volunteer cats. We've got a couple that could be quite interesting on volunteering them.
All right, councillor Dowler.
Yeah, just further that, I remember a while ago, it wasn't there, we had a presentation about one of those schemes done in Wellington. And it showed you the area and one cat travelled 5 Ks in the night.
Yeah.
It was absolutely mind blowing, just where it went. So it will be an interesting result. Yeah.
Think what it is, doesn't it?
All right, councillor Kinnan-Mont, then looking for someone to move the resolution. You happy to do that, councillor Kinnan-Mont?
Oh, yeah, certainly.
Thank you. All right. Yes.
The cat tracking, I want to just talk to you quietly and quickly about that. The council has a pest management relationship with NCC as well. What's happening to this data that's coming from the Ngāti Māori school cat tracking? Sorry. What's going to happen? Is it going to stay within the school, or do you get it and then send it on to us? What's happening with that?
Thank you for the question through the chair. I don't know. I will need to find out, but I don't think it, because it's a kind of citizen science. So I don't think it will be coming to us. It's not a official monitoring tool for the council. I would imagine it stay at school, but I can find out and report on it next time.
Councillor Ellis.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you so much for your report, Julia. I'm just wanting to draw attention to the point that signage will be installed in Ball Creek coming up in the next few months. I'm quite excited to see that will be coming to fruition finally. Staff have done a great job of bringing the community into the tree planting and the care of especially the eels in Ball Creek, and the community has really taken that on board. So I'm very impressed with that body of work. But the community is also being very distressed to see some of the vandalism to the wildlife in that area. So while yes, it's a sign, I appreciate the acknowledgement of the importance of the eels in that area and that signage will be in, because that community has really taken on caring for that environment. So yes, I'd just like to acknowledge that and that I'm really appreciative that we will see that signage coming in, and hopefully, I don't think I can use that kind of language in the chamber, but those that are responsible for that kind of damage, either that we don't see that kind of behaviour again. It's absolutely appalling. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to add through the chair to that point is that we also want to work with neighbourhood support on that. And we know that neighbourhood support has a wide membership in Berryfield at the moment. So they will help us to, to bring the message, to spread the word, and hopefully we'll create more visibility of that area. And the more people using that area, the less those kind of vandalism acts we will get. So we will still working on that. Yeah, thank you.
Are you happy to second the report resolution?
Yes, thank you so much.
All right. Very good. All right. It's been moved by Councillor Kinnan-Mont, seconded by Councillor Ellis. The resolution is up on the board to receive the report. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Thank you very much. Thank you, Janet, Glenys and Julia. Councillors, we'll have a break now for morning tea. So if we could be back here by 5 to 11, please. Thank you. All right, 11 o'clock.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. We actually need to have a mover and a seconder to adjourn for morning tea. So
I'll move.
moved by Deputy Mayor Bryant, seconded by Councillor Dowler. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. We're going to move to the Community Infrastructure Group Activity Report. And we've got Jamie, we've got Grant, we've got Mike, we've got Russell, and we've got Nick. But we'll start off, Jamie, with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Take the management section firstly as read. Just we'll say it's great to be here. Acting for Richard. I'm acting for Richard until the 15th of September. So wish me luck. And then I'm happy to take the transportation activity report as read and take any questions.
Cool. All right. Well, so firstly, just on the management page, which is mainly just page 35, I think, 35, 36. Any questions on that before we move into transportation? Councillor Mailing.
Just a comment really, and it's about the infrastructure, I suppose, new bus shelters that I'm seeing and the new buses and how well that's gone and the initial reports we got, the numbers that have gone up. So it'll be interesting to track that going forward, Jamie. But I've seen the other morning, I counted 9 people getting off the bus here, outside here. So it's certainly getting used. The proof will be how that use carries on over the next few months.
Great. Anything else in the management update? If not, we will move to transportation. Jamie, it's always good when you're wearing multiple hats.
Yes, sorry, just juggle those hats. Yeah, so I'm happy to take that report as read. The only thing I'll add, today we're expecting to see the announcement on the transport GPS. I keep checking and it hasn't been released last time I checked, but so particularly interested to see what they're allocating for maintenance and also in terms of any projects for this region. And the other piece of news we had from Wakakotahi recently, last week they advised us that our financial assistance rate will remain at 51% for the next 3-year period. So yeah, any questions?
All right, Councillor Dowler.
That's just a comment to back up what Jamie's talking about there. We had a meeting the other day with probably the Road Transport Association, I suppose, with Wakakotahi, and it was mentioned by Emma Spate at the meeting that to bring the roads back up to standard of what they were 3 years ago, the government is faced with a $5 billion bill before they even start from now. So she was sort of indicating, be aware all these promises being made by the politicians if they win the election, probably going to be second in line for after the $5 billion is spent. So it's going to be a bit of a thing there. As far as the bus service goes, it's been pretty well taken. Well, it's the community of Motueka is really appreciating it, and so are the people in Mapua. We got rung the other night asking to confirm that the bus was going to be in Mapua at 10:15 in the morning because there was a whole group of them going to jump aboard and come across to Richmond for lunch. And I said, well, you go to the website, mate. What website? So I had to lead him through how to get to it and showed him and to talk to him through it on the phone and that. And it was great. Apparently there's about 30 of them coming over, they reckon, when he gets the team together. It may not be this week, but they're all gold card holders, so they're all going to travel for nothing. And, but I said, I'd love to be there to take a photo of the whole bloody lot of you on the bus.
Great, thank you. All right, still on transportation. So just that does take us pages 37 to 5017. So, yep, Deputy Mayor Bryant.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So just to follow on from Councillor Dowler, yes, we had the Transport Forum with the Nelson Tasman Regional Development Agent facilitated on Tuesday at the Heavenly Centre with key people in the transport industry. just to get some feedback for them for what they call the ND, the Economic Development Agent, what they call briefing to ministers. So it was to gather information for that, whether that be outgoing or incoming is probably both. And yeah, as Jamie alluded to and Barry even did allude that there could be some positives for this region in the GPS when it comes out today. So we're looking with bated breath on what that may or may not be, and we'll comment appropriately, whether that's the mayor or the yourself or Jamie. Someone will make some public comment, I'm sure. And it was a really good forum there on Tuesday, so that was really worthwhile. Jamie, just in relation to the report, there's a photo of Crowell Valley Road slip. And I take it the contractor's cleaning it up, it's still flooded. There is a huge big stump also on that road that they've put to the side of the road. I'm assuming that will be removed at some time and taken offside or cut up or blown up or something.
Through the chair, yeah. Often, and Drew probably could have talked to this, often the team will simply make the road safe, and there is often follow-up work. I mean, we're still doing follow-up work from the August 22 flood event. There's still quite a list of tasks to complete. So yeah, it's a big workload, and it's just not stopping.
And some of that on the Crowell Valley Road would be related to that, and some cut-ins to the road where the river, which is only a small creek most of the time, but can be quite large, has done some damage as well. Thank you.
Jamie, I know that you did reply to this via email, but it might be useful for everyone to know. So just in relation to the public transport and bus stops, so we currently have some places that the bus stops, but they don't have a seat or a shelter. So, and some communities are asking about what the intention is. So what is our intention with regards to that?
A good question. We have some short-term works planned. For example, a shelter going in at Wakefield. We're kind of focused on sort of key nodes within people's journeys. So Wakefield, Motueka, Mapua, and Richmond. And what we want to do is make sure that we have seats and shelters at every main stop. And then at all of the stops in between, we want to also install a seat. Kind of a seat is a minimum, comfort provision for passengers waiting to get on the bus. We did want to see or verify the usage of these stops and that they are in the right location, like before we spend several $1,000s putting a seat at every single one of our 50-odd bus stops. We want to just make sure that they are in the right place and they're going to be used. So it's going to take us some time to continue that work. So sort of the remainder of this year, this sort of work is going to be ongoing, and it is budget dependent too. So we're kind of balancing the budget on this.
All right, we have Councillor Walker.
Yeah, thank you. Through you, Chair. Jamie, I just wanted to raise a couple of questions around the report that's been given to us on, and it's a really awful part of our report on fatalities and carnage on our roads. I'm just wondering, when we get that information, it doesn't actually clarify for me whether that's caused because of road conditions, whether it's caused because of speed or people being under the influence of whatever. And so I find that data quite hard to process, because I mean, it's a figure and it has a huge impact, not just on individuals, whānau, but our wider community. And we get this information, but I don't really know how we process that without it having something more to clarify around those statistics. That's my first point. And my second point is that there's a request, and obviously the people have contacted you about how many accidents have happened on a specific piece of road. How often do we get those requests? And I note that there's some really good dialogue around how you've responded to that, of which I'm very grateful for. Just wondering how often we get these requests, and does it automatically become a part of our works project of trying to fund it, or do they have to meet a certain criteria?
Through the chair, your first comment about the completeness or I guess the clarity of the information that we're reporting to you guys, I'll take that on board, and we'll probably bring back a more comprehensive report that looks at the factors that were involved in crashes. Often it's not straightforward. We rely on the way the police record the crash and the factors that they think were involved, but yeah, there's in the past we've noted themes like restraints. So a lot of serious harm or fatalities are caused by people not wearing restraints, and a lot are also caused by impaired driving, so under the influence of drugs or alcohol. Those are common themes from previously, but we'll bring back and clarify that for the most recent financial year.
Thank you.
The second part around requests for information about crashes. So we don't hold the data. We access the central database, which is managed by Waka Kotahi, using information that they receive from the police. So technically we don't hold the data, but we have access to it. We are licensed to access that data. But we're happy to provide information to people of a general nature if they request it. And in terms of how this information goes into our planning, yeah, it's preventing crashes is a bit like preventing lightning from striking, or even trying to predict where the lightning's going to strike. You know, they're highly dispersed, but what we know is that crashes are more likely to happen on higher traffic roads, so busier roads, so there's a higher risk due to the number of vehicles travelling that road. They happen on roads that typically have a speed limit of 100 kilometres an hour. That's where the greatest harm happens. Obviously, speed, even though it might not be illegal speed is still a factor. So it influences the outcome of the injuries or the damage to people and vehicles. All of this crash information, alongside information about the width of the roads, the alignment of the roads, and the traffic usage, that all goes into the mix for this quite good piece of this quite good system that Waka Kotahi have presented around speed management that tells us the high risk areas, so the areas where we would get the most benefit from either doing a speed limit treatment or potentially some engineering treatment. But I mean, typically engineering treatments are unaffordable for our council if we're talking about realigning roads, widening roads. You know, we simply don't have the funds and never will to do some of that work. So that's why speed management is such a critical part of reducing harm to our community. So obviously we've been workshopping speed with the council and with the Regional Transport Committee. So that's kind of the big focus at the moment.
That's happy with that, Councillor Walker?
I was just more meaning that, yeah, I'm happy with those answers. There's just the last item in that report, and I'm trying to jump screens, but it's about somebody proving how many accidents they had on one particular corner and asked the request to put a rail guardrail up. I was just wondering how that process worked, but I'll take that offline with you, Jamie. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I guess just so in the report, we do talk about an anecdotal piece of information that eight vehicles in one day on one piece of road. I mean, I'm trying to imagine if I was that landowner, how you would actually feel about that. I mean, it just seems absolutely ridiculous. And there's obviously a serious issue with that piece of road.
yeah, we're obviously very pleased that he told us that, because most of those crashes don't end up in the database, because most of them will be non-injury. Most of them will result in pride being hurt more than anything, which is good, I guess. But yeah, what was said in the report is we have a very modest budget of about $35,000 a year to address roadside hazards. And so this corner is a prime candidate for some guardrail. So we've just completed some guardrail up on the Missouri Highway, which was also where there had been actually fatal crashes. So our focus is really on reducing fatal and serious crashes. But just judging by what's happened at that corner on River Terrace Road, you know, there is a high risk of any one of those crashes being fatal or serious. So it'd be good to treat that.
Councillor Kinnan-Month.
Thank you, through the chair. Councillor Mackenzie and I attended the Mapua Districts Community Association on Monday, where there was some discussion about E-bus and what E stands for. And there was a number of people present, grey-haired, like myself, who said it was electric. And it was confirmed in the meeting that it's not E for electric, it's E for everybody. Is that true? And have you been having any other sort of complaints? Because one of the buses that go through Mapua is not electric, it's diesel. So is that the reason why it's E? Is that because it's everybody's bus, not just electric?
I'll do my best to answer this. The decision around the naming of the bus was made by the Joint Regional Transport Committee. I can talk factually about the bus fleet. So there are 17 electric buses that are doing the heavy lifting. They on any given day are sufficient to run all of the bus routes. But what happens with any fleet is occasionally you have to take a part of that fleet out of service for maintenance or for whatever reason. And so the backup buses, rather than having very expensive new technology sitting around being unused, the backup buses are a couple of the diesel buses that have previously been used for the local bus service. So on occasion, those diesel buses will be used. They have the same livery so that people recognise that they are the public bus. As to what E stands for, I don't actually think that was specified.
Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Councillor Kinnan-Month.
Well, I could perhaps answer.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure that at the Regional Transport Committee, that Mayor Smith particularly was very keen that we called the E-bus because they were electric, because he is an electric car. But predominantly the fleet was going to be electric. We were going to be one of the first places in New Zealand to have electric buses. So by and large, I'm under the impression that it's for E for electric, but if someone's got a different opinion, I'm not sure. Councillor Dowler might like to add to that.
Councillor Dowler.
I'm just going to help Jamie out with the diesel, but the depot in Motueka, if the late bus goes over to at night and stays in Motueka for the early bus run in the morning, it's leased, it doesn't have a charging station. So that's the reason why the diesel bus has to do the late night, early morning run. Otherwise, we'd have to travel all the way from Richmond empty and then start the run and come back again. So if someone wants to cough up and find a depot with an electric charger, I'm sure MBS will take it on.
Councillor Kinnan-Month and then Councillor Hill.
So in my Friday morning men's club, I've been asked, when are we going to have a charger in Motueka? Is it months away? Is it years away? Is it just, I don't know. Can you help me out?
Yeah, do you know?
Well, they hold a lease on the premises where they are, so I suppose it's going to cost them to get out of that lease. I don't know whether they're negotiating at the moment or not, but
to be fair, we haven't had any indication around when that might be. Yes, Jamie's got anything more?
Councillor Hill.
Thank you. Thanks for the report, Jamie. I really appreciate the sections around our various wards. we were jointly with Murchison and we're all good about that. But, you know, it's really helpful to have specific information and what's coming up. That's great. In terms of that guardrail, that's a small amount of money, isn't it? You've got there each, is it annually, did you say? And really support that going there. I was thinking about there's the cost to the farm and the fence and that, but this must be pretty stressful to, you know, have to deal with that all the time, and particularly if people are getting hurt or not. And yeah, just a question about, and I think in response to the potholes outside the Solly's yard entrance being fixed. Where, and I'm not thinking about Solly's particularly, but it came up through that, but where say a contractor's got a property and they're coming out onto the road, main road, and because they've got big tractors and gear and, you know, and they're breaking down the edge of the road, say, because they're swinging out and it's not quite wide enough or something. Do we just pay for that? We do, because I'm thinking about when cows are crossing a road and there's damage done through that, then the farmers are up for some of that, I think. But if contractors are at those sites where they're coming out in and out all day, are breaking down the road, we pay for that?
Yeah, if it's if we consider where the damage is happening as part of our maintained asset, so the public road as opposed to just the driveway itself where it might come off the road, then it's our responsibility to, we have no legal ability to hold anyone in particular accountable for potholes developing on our road, with the exception of what you mentioned about the stock driving bylaw, where we specifically have a legal mechanism there to hold farmers accountable for the damage that their activity running stock might do.
Yeah, just aware of one or two places at home where I see the edge getting broken away, and, you know, and I guess it'll get repaired and broken away again, and I don't know if we, anyway. That's all.
All right, thank you, Councillor Hill. All right. Oh, okay, Councillor Hill.
Thank you. It looks as though there was one of the fatalities was up the Cobb Road. Is that what that's signifying?
Yeah, so I can talk a little bit about that one because I read the report. It was an older gentleman in one of those kind of four-wheel recreational vehicle, kind of like not a quad bike, but one of those Polaris type things. Yep. So he went for a hoon up Cobb Valley Road. He lived nearby and was just out for his regular hoon. I think from reading the report, he had maybe had an argument with some family members, and it didn't end well, unfortunately. Yeah, so kind of one of those relatively uncontrollable situations, at least from a road manager perspective. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Jamie. I think we'll move on to Parks and Reserves. So, Grant, this is your section of the report. Councillors, it's pages 57 through to 71.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Firstly, I'll just draw your attention to the projects table. There's just a slight update on the Mapua tennis courts. So the iwi consultation has now been completed, and the light poles, if they're not already in, they will be soon. And then that'll be followed by the court surface renewal. So that's under 2023 4.5 in the table. The other thing is under community housing, 5.5, we only have one vacancy at the moment, and that's not really a true vacancy because it's actually just been it's being renovated at the moment in between tenants. So we basically have everything fully tenanted. Thank you. I'll take questions.
All right, any questions for Grant?
Yes, Madam Chair, I'm happy to haven't really got a question, but just like to compliment you, Grant, on the way the new toilets were delivered in Wakefield and the process that went there compared to the old way of building the toilets and taking weeks and months. as we have done previously, that seemed a really good solution and they really look like they do blend in with the village. Haven't personally had the opportunity to use them or look inside, but certainly from the exterior, they look really good in the setting that they are in on the side of the village green. And I'm sure they will be well used by the amount of cyclists we're getting through Wakefield. So well done to the team.
Maybe that was more.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd just like to say that was, so project delivery team helped us with that and, you know,
Good clients, that's.
Yeah, well, thanks to both of you, if that's the case.
That might have been more the need to use them rather than the opportunity, Deputy Mayor.
Yeah.
Didn't have a need. Yeah. Questions for Grant? Questions for Grant? All right, well, gosh, that's getting off easy today, Grant. Yeah, Councillor Dowler.
Yeah, just about the lighting at Sports Park. Obviously going to be towers put up. When we built the grandstand there, we had to be very careful of the height of the building that was put up due to the shading of the houses behind it on the southern side. So it would have to be taken into consideration if the tower goes up, there's no shading or whatever. Just a comment, thanks.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, it would appear that's all good. So we'll move on to waters and waste update. Mike, this is pages 71 through to 98. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll take the report as read, but I've got a number of updates. There's a lot going on the go at the moment. But the first point I want to make is that this report, there's a focus on the water compliance, and that's with the drinking water quality assurance rules, which took effect from 1 January, and we've had to report on those to Taumata Arawai monthly. So this is the first year-end report, although it's not really for a full year. Generally, it is pretty good. We've got a few issues to work on, and we're in the process of expending some of that money that we got in putting in monitoring equipment and gathering data and processing it and so on. So there's a wee way to go in some areas, a few upgrades still to go. We've also got 3 schemes that are now regarded as large schemes. That's the Dovedale, Kaiteri, and Redwoods 2. Surprisingly enough, Dovedale we always thought was a bit under 400, and we did a bit closer assessment this year, and it's actually over 650 people in Dovedale now. So it's quite a large scheme. So that means that monitoring, reporting, the sampling all takes a step up. So we'll be putting that into the next long-term plan as well. The report also covers a bit more detail on scheme by scheme. So it's probably half of my report is just on that, but I thought it was important for council to get a good update on where we're sitting with water compliance. And we'll be doing this end of each year, but of course through the year we'll give updates on any exception reporting that goes to Taumata Arawai as well. And the focus for next ops meeting report will be gravel. So from now on we're covering a bit on gravels and how we're dealing with them in rivers. But next report, I'm intending to have Alistair Clements work with David Stevenson and actually give you a rundown on how we do the gravel assessments, the measuring, how decisions are made. So you have a better understanding of where things are at. We get a lot of feedback about gravels, a lot of opinions about gravels, as you're well aware. And as I say, we're working very closely with the Rob Smith's department. And while I mention that, I'll just go on to another a staffing issue, or not issue, a staffing development around that. As of the 2nd of October this year, moving over to Rob Smith's team. And so that's the environmental and information team. And the main reason for that is most of their work has to do with the river and environmental hazards team, the hydrological team, and the freshwater team. And they all sit down that end of the building. So we're going to be shifting them down to that end. And we have just advertised for a new team leader for the rivers and coastal team. And that person will then report to Rob Smith. So it's very difficult finding rivers engineers out there. And so we hope we get a bit of interest in that. We have
advertised quite widely. On to other matters. So this morning we had two breaks on the water main along Main Road Hope. The first was between Ranzow Road and Whites Road, and came very close to having to deliver water or shut down Ranzow School and a local kindy or preschool there. But that was a reasonably quick fix. And the second break is further down towards Aniseed Valley, Edens Road area, opposite end of the road really. And that's probably going to take until lunchtime. Fortunately, it's mostly just residential dwellings affected by that and relatively few houses along that stretch of road. It is an issue with that pipe along Main Road Hope. That's since early last year. That's the fourth break we've had along there. And of course, with traffic management and so on, it becomes an expensive operation. We do have funding this year to design a renewal of the pipe between between Whites Road and Ranzow Road. And all going according to plan, we should have that bit of the road, the pipe replaced next year. But we will be coming back through the LTP process with a program of renewal works for our AC pipes in particular, and a lot of the old Blue Route pipes that we know an issue, mostly around Mapurstal on this. If you're aware, through Aranui and Stafford Drive, we've replaced the main all along there, which was Blue Route as well, but the side roads, a lot of them are still the old Blue Route, and if we have a bit of a pressure spike, those pipes blow relatively easily. So we're using our pressure sensor equipment around the district, and we're managing those pressures. And where possible, we put in variable speed drives, which ensures you have slow ramping up and ramping down of flows and pressure, and pressure reducing valves to try and keep the pressure down. So we've done a fair bit of that around Wakefield to try and reduce the breaks there. The first of the 3 stages for Wakefield pipe replacement has been done. So that's from Pitfield through to Peerless Avenue Drive, I think it is. So that was successfully completed. The next one, next stage 2 should start next week if all goes according to plan. And then following that is stage 3, which is through the cemetery, which will probably be about mid-September. So that's the water, the money that council agreed to bring forward in July. The MRF upgrade is on track. It's going really well. We'll do some empty running of the conveyor belt tomorrow just to test it. On Monday, we will have the engineers on site and we'll start operation. And we'll run a normal schedule for Monday. If that all goes according to plan, then we'll extend the operation from Tuesday onwards until we catch up on the recycling that's been stored around the district so far. Just coming back to the gravels again, you'll notice in this reporting from now on, we will have a gravel update at each meeting just to keep everyone informed, and the relevant contractors have been given a link to that so they can keep a tab on it as well. The Tarka treatment plant upgrade. So this is where we've added a new rib, as was in the previous report, but an update was given last week to all councillors through an email. It's on track. We're expecting the liner, which goes around the side, to be delivered next week. That was the key item that could have held up the operation. So it's in production at the moment. And the local contractor there has done a really good job, worked with us really well, and managed to actually access, which I don't think that previous ribs did, the river gravels. They had to dig a bit deeper, a little bit of extra cost in that, but I think it was well worthwhile to give us a bit more capacity. So at this stage, we're on track to be operational by the 15th of September. And the final item I've got is Motueka. We're still having issues with the membrane at the water treatment plant there in Motueka. We've had a very wet season. We haven't, with the capacity and trying to reduce the risk of overflows and trying not to have too many discharges into the wetland, we've been running the membranes at capacity, which means we can't really do the cleaning that we need to do. They have fouled quite badly, and at the moment even though it's in theory our wet season,
we are at normal dry weather flows and have been for several weeks, and we still cannot get them clean back to the condition they were a year ago. So this likely indicates we won't get the full life expectancy out of them, and we might have to come back at some stage to replace those membranes if we can't get enough capacity. Because certainly they cannot handle the capacity that we get in a season like this season. So maybe it'll be a drier season next year, but it is up in the air, and we might have to look at replacing them. I can take some questions now, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you, Mike. Councillor Dowler.
Yeah, will that be due to the high water table that we've got over there at the moment with the rain that we're getting all the time and just with all the infiltration we get into the system?
No, these are designed, as I say, at the moment we're getting quite good flows. So yes, the water table would be up a bit, but it's more to do with the, you're talking about the Taukika one, I take it, or the Mott one. Oh, no, that's more to do with the algae in there. We've looked at ways to get rid of the algae. It's once you pull it out, because it's still live, it turns anaerobic really quickly. You have odor problems. Because we thought of maybe shading the end of the ponds to try to reduce the amount of algae, but as I say, you've got to let it go through its process. And if you do try and filter it out, then you end up with the same problem with how to manage it and dispose of it. But the key thing is, I think the advice we got should have been for a much bigger plant. But the question is now, do we extend the plant for a limited time? We know we've got a deadline on that site, and we need to be looking at an alternative site, which we haven't chosen yet, and where it's going to be. And I guess my take on it is, do we look at getting a site sooner than later and start building up a modular type treatment plant that you can add on to later, and start taking the excess that we've got, and that will extend the life of the current plant through to its expiry date for the resource consent.
Thank you. We'll have Councillor Kinnan-Month, then Mayling, then Walker. Thank you.
Thank you. Through the chair. Mike, page 81 of your report, clause 6.59, why look at we Dovedale water supply. They've been on a boil water notice for 33 years. Wow. And your last sentence here kind of worries me a bit. TDC can expect to be asked soon how and when it's going to bring this water supply to a point where boil water notice can be removed. You and I have discussed this, and it's millions of dollars. Should we be putting something now out to this group here so that we put money aside for the long-term plan for this work, and that be on the front foot so that the health authorities know that we're proactive? That's my thoughts. What are your thoughts on it?
Through you, Madam Chair. Absolutely, this will be considered in the LTP. It's just a question of timing and when, because there are several plants that we're working on, water and wastewater, and that need upgrades. But for water, as you're aware, Dovedale is one issue. The other one is 88 Valley has got exactly the same issues. We get 3 or 4 boil water notices a year there. And with the new standards, that number of boil water notices is increasing. We have very little control over surface takes. So ideally, you don't want a surface take. So that's the issues we have with Upper Taukika, 88 Valley, and Dovedale, our major surface takes. And yes, it is very costly to upgrade those. So it's which takes priority, because 88 Valley has got the same issue. And we've got a Waimea water strategy there that we want to consolidate that into the new Brightwater bore field, put a new treatment plant there, and that will supply 88 Valley, Wakefield and Brightwater. So that's 3 plants into one, which is far more economic for the future. And it also, we will have a link back to Richmond. So you've got that resilience between 2 major plants, and two more bore fields, being the Richmond bore field and the Waimea bore field. So, you've got backup supply both ways then as well. But I think that's $35, $40 million project to do that. And then the other one is the Redwood Valley. We've got 3 sites. We've got a bore field. We've got at Riverside. We've got O'Connor's Creek, which is a bore and treatment plant. We've got Golden Hills, which is a treatment plant. And again, we need to consolidate those 3 into one. And then also look at how do we expand the network because we need to supply in time more water for Mapua, possibly the Mutri, Mahana, and ultimately I would suggest we should actually have a loop main that, because we know Rabbit Island is very vulnerable across the estuary there, crossing at Mapua, and you'd want a loop main that goes inland and joins back into Mapua as well, either through Domain Road and that. And with the amount of development going there, there's a number of developments at this stage don't have a water supply. And as many of you will know, that is a rain shadow area. And if we have a 3-4 months drought, there's a real risk of can we supply them with water, as happened with Dovedale a couple of years ago. We had a 3-week waiting list for people to be delivered with water. So that's really big picture, long-term thinking. That's more a challenge for the entity if it comes along. But that's the thinking that's going into it at the moment.
Thank you, Mike. I guess nothing's free, given that these systems are all user pays, bring on cost harmonisation and new water entities, because that's a solution to problems. Anyway, you had a supplementary, Councillor Kinnerman?
I don't actually think my question has been answered. Sorry. I'm more worried about the health authorities going to the news media, and saying, you've had this boil water notice for 33 years. We've now got Havelock North issue here. I don't want people dying, but gastro problems. And our council looks as though it's back for responding backwards. I'd like to see some sort of response that we could say, yes, we're looking at this, we're trying to do this, we've got a plan, we've done some basic designs, and it's going to cost $7 million, and we can negate any negative feedback. So I'm looking at that sort of aspect.
Yeah, absolutely. As I said, it's in the LTP. And the cost that we have, we've got an idea of the cost, because not only is it an upgrade of the current treatment plant, we've only done half the upgrade. We do need to put potentially, depending on how the harvesting goes and what the impact of the forestry harvesting is there, we quite possibly need an alternative water source as well. In terms of Tāmata Arawai and the regulator and what they do, they are well aware of the issue. They have got a focused boil water notice. I'd say Evan is probably one of the biggest focus across the country at the moment. Those schemes that have a constant or regular boil water notices, so they're well aware of Dovedale. They are specifically went to come down to talk to Evan about Dovedale and what we were doing, so they're aware of it. And Ian Shearing, is the our coordinator for Entity H, and he's actually going to come down and spend the day with me, going around Dovedale, 88 Valley, and also have a look at a couple of our newer treatment plants to see what we can do and what we've done. But a lot of our funding for treatment plant that's been on the book for 20, 25 years have been delayed, and just about most of our treatment plant upgrades have happened in the last 5 years. So it's always become a funding issue, and it's been delayed and delayed until the new drinking water kicked in, and suddenly there's prosecution if you don't comply. So things are happening at a rate. So hopefully that is a bit more complete answer.
Thank you, Mike. Councillor Mayling, then Councillor Walker.
Yeah, just to comment, rural water schemes are a problem right across the country, because most of them started off as stock water schemes, and they're very long, so you're always going to get problems. But the question was about Hope. Is that a spike in the pressure that caused 2 breaks in one day, or just the condition of the pipe?
It's 1977 AC pipes. The pipes breaking in Wakefield at the moment are 1973 and 75 AC pipes. It's just an age-related thing. You know, we were expecting AC pipes to last 70 or 80 years. When we dug up the Champion Road AC pipe for the roundabout, we had to redivert it. That pipe was the same age as in perfect condition. But for some reason out there, I don't know if it's ground conditions or maybe the contractor's installation techniques at the time, but they're just not lasting as well as other AC pipes.
Thank you. Councillor Walker.
Yeah, thank you. Through you, Madam Chair, this question's at you, Mike. Just reflecting back on the Motueka wastewater treatment plant. So we had quite an active working group that was happening last term. And I'm mindful of the current challenges that we have. And obviously I don't want to see anything going out into our estuary. I'm just wondering what's happening with that working group, and is there still momentum, or why are we not being included? Where are we at? Thanks.
I'm sorry, I can't. That is a activity planning function. That Dwayne's team was running that. As you're aware, Helen Lane resigned a while back. She was the lead on that and had really good contacts in the district. And since then, we've been pretty focused on doing LTP and activity management planning. So right now, we've got other priorities, but where that's at and what the next steps are, I'm afraid I cannot answer that. I'll have a chat to Dwayne and get back to everyone on that.
Thank you.
Councillor Dowd.
Yeah, well, I thought it would have been part of the next LTP to start working on the stuff, because it's got to be done within the next LTP. Otherwise, we're going to run out of time.
Was that a question, Councillor Dowd?
Will it be part of the next LTP?
Yes.
Good, thank you. All righty. Looks like, thank you, Mike, that we are at the end of waters and waste update. So we'll move on to Russell project delivery update, pages 98 through to 117. Thank you, Russell.
Take the report as read. There's two changes since the report was drafted. One is Port Charikali. We have a potential variation coming for additional rock. We need more rock than was anticipated. So where my report says it's green, it's now amber, and we're just working through the likely costs of the rock and how much impact it'll have on the overall project. The project's going very well. It's about a third complete, and some of the more risky work has actually been completed, sheet piling, etc. But we have yet to finalise the consequences of requiring quite a lot of extra rock on the breakwater. And the other update is that since the report was written, we now have received confirmation from the Tourist Information Fund that the two cycleway projects, one in Pahara and one at Kaiteri, are now fully funded. We had startup money and there were preconditions. The preconditions related to consultation and consents. The consultations all been signed off and the consents lodged, and they've seen our draft consents. So they've said, yes, you can have your funding, and they'll be presented to our chief exec probably today for signing, and that'll cement the funding for those two cycleway projects. Happy to take questions.
All right, well, that sounds like good news. Open for questions. I'll just check Councillor Walker's a question. No, I'm just.
No, I just lower my hand, sorry.
Okay, great. Thank you. Councillor Hill.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks for the report. In terms of the rock at the port, that was just not able to be anticipated. The issues there.
We've had a full investigation as to why this has come along at this particular point. It's to do with the weight of the rock, the density, it's denser than anticipated, and the sediment is sloppier than anticipated, so it's settling more. The two key factors, the heavier rock and the ground conditions underwater, sinking more.
Yeah.
Whilst we did the best we can to anticipate those risks, and it's always a risk, rock.
Yeah.
When you're filling in.
Yeah. Thank you. And just on the Motupepe Street footpath and the land
from Fonterra
land, is there any signal there that we'd be worried about? Like, it's gonna be able to be achieved somehow, or is there any problem around
There has
that?
been high level conversations with Tasman District Council and Fonterra, which are positive. We believe we will get the land so we can construct the park.
And there won't be an issue there around the timing and funding.
Hopefully not.
Thank you.
Okay, maybe just one question, Russell, from myself. So the Motorway Recreation Centre water facility upgrade, it's like a $1 million project. Can you just tell me a little bit more about the what it's delivering and the urgency of it? Because I'm just thinking about, you know, some of our planning maps and flood level zones and all the rest of it, and the
The
future.
project was put on hold by our client, Mike's team, as there was uncertainty what was going to be required. Now we have the new Motueka water treatment plant. So they wanted to run that, understand the flows, how it can fulfill some of the firefighting obligations before they committed to doing what needs to be done at the rec centre. But I could probably default to Mike, so I haven't got a brief to do anything yet.
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair. Yeah, there's a question as to whether we have an online system that we can use in the event of a fire and straight into the network. If we do that, we actually have to have another, if we use the current setup with the bores, we have to have another treatment plant there to get up to that standard. Or do we just have a backup supply with the raw water and accept that there will be a risk in the event of a fire if we have to use it? And the third option is that we have a storage system there. We don't use the bores at the site anymore, and we keep that storage tank filled up and turned over with treated water from the Park Street treatment plant. So yeah, it's decision as to which is the best option for that site, and how bad is the firefighting supply down there if we didn't have anything at that site at all. So we need to model the options. Yeah.
Okay, Councillor Dowler.
Yeah, just with the inundation report that we've had for that area and drama around the rec centre and everything, will those two bores that are there be under threat from saltwater inundation eventually?
Through you, Madam Chair, I guess it depends what year. If the tide comes up to that level, yes, it will be. It's a question of probably when rather than if. But yeah, we know anything below High Street is at risk in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what was sitting behind my question is that, you know, we are going to need to look at, you know, adaptation and retreat. And so we want to be very careful when we're thinking about capital investments in that context. All right, it would appear we have no further questions. Mike, Russell, thank you very much. So that will take us on to Nick with the property update.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Take the report as read. Just a slight addendum. I was asked a question yesterday. The situation with the Wakefield Toy Library is it's going through a building consent process at the moment. We're also talking to the Toy Library people to see if we could do the upgrade while they're closed. We're not sure if they're closed over the Christmas period, but we might try and minimise disturbance. And that's it. Any questions?
Any questions for Nick on property?
So just one on that, the toy library. So where is that in action? When will we?
We're just, as soon as we've finally got a design for the subfloor from the engineer, it's been submitted for a building consent, which hopefully we should have shortly, and then we'll be ready to go.
Right.
We're going to try and get it done as soon as possible.
So the plans have been submitted. It's all around there waiting for consent.
Yes.
And someone obviously will have to answer any request for further information. So yeah, be a couple of months.
It's quite a simple job.
Yeah, good luck. Thanks. Thanks, Madam Chair.
Councillor Dowler.
Yeah, is there any chance of bringing the building evaluation of the Motueka Museum forward, seeing what's been possibly discovered the last week regarding the roof and the subfloor and now a leak in another part of the building.
Through you, Madam Chair, it's been pushed to the top of the agenda, so hope to have it done by November.
All right, any further questions for Nick? We do have a resolution up there to receive the report. Do I have someone who, moved by councillor Dowler and seconded by councillor Kinmonth. If there are no further questions, we'll put that resolution. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, that is carried. Thank you. So thank you, Grant, Mike, Russell, Nick, Jamie. And we now will move to councillor Hill. Could I ask you to do our closing karakia, please?
Yes, certainly, Chair. Karakia tātou. Tawhiri manga hua o te tai ao, mai a papatua niku e tākoto nei. Kia rangi nui e tui iho nei. Tutiri whakamaua kia tina. Tina hui e tai kia. Kia ora.
Very good. Thank you very much.